Hello and welcome to Disc Coverers, the only podcast on the internet that reads, reviews, and ranks every 41 of Terry Pratchett's Discworld series of comic fantasy novels. I am one of your hosts, Iris J. Pronouns are she or z. It's my pleasure to be here on this balmy August day. I'd also love to introduce my co-hosts here. Let's start with Grace, and then Belina, and then June. How about that?
Hello, everyone. I am the internet's beloved Princess Grace. Pronouns are she, her, fey, fair, if you are spicy.
I am Belina. She/they is fine with me. Just glad to be here.
And I'm Juniper. She, her, and I am glad that I had a movie night where I made a bunch of people watch the Blues Brothers recently. Made this book much funnier.
Yeah, I can't call it prescient because we already knew this one was coming, but I'd kind of forgotten just how hard it leans on it throughout this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good choice.
It's really, Today's book that we're talking about is the 16th in the series, published in 1993, Soul Music, a kind of a redux of moving pictures, but this time about the dawn of Discworld's music industry. Oh, I'm sorry. Is this 1995, not 93? Well,
Wikipedia says 94.
94?
It's split the difference.
The copy I have, well, sometime in the 90s this book was published. We can't truly know for sure when. But yeah, it's an exploration of the dawn of the music industry inside the Discworld universe, centered around a single band, the band with rocks in it. A trio of musicians who are dallying with forces beyond their mortal ken. This was a really interesting one. I will say that, like, after a few books which were like jostling for like the top spot or whatever, it's nice to have one that's like, I don't know if this is going to be like super high on the list, but it was very solid, and it kind of felt like a bit of a return to form. Like it reminded me a lot of like an older Discworld book, just written a little bit better. You know what I mean?
I agree. I have a lot of thoughts on it. I that was kind of what I was thinking as I read it. Although, do we want to do the summary first before we get into it?
Let me get that bit out of the way here.
Right. Well, expert synoptrix Belina, take it away whenever you are ready.
Imp Eastelin, a young bard from Lamados, comes to Ankh-Morpork seeking recognition and fame. Stymied by the nature of living in a society, he joins up with fellow starving artists Glod Glodson and Lias Bluestone, also suffers the loss of his harp, finding a magical equivalent to an electric guitar in one of those weird traveling shops that just show up from time to time. Inside of the guitar lurks a primordial strain of music from the dawn of time, which starts playing itself whenever Imp gives it an opportunity. Half gotten in a way, Mort and Isabel both die both on and off camera at the same time. Death is as upset about this as anyone and goes on another sabbatical in an effort to forget all about it. As before, with him gone, someone else has to step up, and the universe picks Susan Sto-Helit, the daughter of the deceased and by extension Death's own granddaughter. She reluctantly gets dragged into this nonsense and immediately starts making the exact same mistakes Mort did. She even tries to save someone from being randomly killed, but before she can act, the music saves Imp instead. Susan goes off to figure out what in blue blazes just happened, while the musicians christen themselves the band with rocks in, Lias and Imp redub themselves Cliff and Buddy respectively, and the music begins to reverberate throughout the city. Renegade CMOT Dibbler inserts himself as the band's manager, setting them up with increasingly large gigs, eventually culminating in a massive free concert backed with dozens of other bands that have sprung up in the meantime. As soon as their own set has been played, the band flees from their crazed fans, the Furious Musicians Guild leadership, and Dibbler himself, who just wants the money that the band sort of accidentally ran off with. Death and Susan pursue in their own chases, the latter because she's still trying to protect Buddy, and the former because he's finally remembered how pear-shaped things go when he forgets himself. To be fair, things do go pretty pear-shaped. The music has decided that Buddy has done what he needs to do, and he can go out in a blaze of glory, arranging for the band to crash their carriage into a gorge. When Susan prevents this, it starts twisting history back around to make it happen anyways. Death steps in, briefly stops the music, and then lets Buddy start it back up. The music, realizing the position it's in, allows things to resolve as quietly as a piece of sentient music can. History is twisted around one final time, everyone who matters survives the incident, music with rocks in is relegated to a fading memory, and things pull more or less back to normality. Mostly.
Yay!
Yeah, that's the book.
Yeah, that was well done.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much
I still
everything.
feel like I kind of excised like the middle half of the book there, but like, how do you really summarize that other than just stuff keeps happening?
Yeah,
There's a
they
lot
didn't
of
mention
jokes
the
about
wizards at all.
music.
You're right. I completely excised the wizards because, unfortunately, as much as I love the Unseen University, their job is to not fix anything at all.
They kind of show up at the end, ready to fight the thing, and then nothing happens, and they go, "Well, glad we didn't have to do anything. All right, let's go home."
They call out that, like, oh, hey, this is exactly like all the other times. This is just like that thing with the motion pictures, or that thing with the other thing with the dungeon dimensions. Yeah, we should be ready in case it happens.
Like, okay, to be actually fair to them, Ridcully actually gets a lot of really good characterization, and he does a lot to help Susan sort of come into her own. Like, they do a lot of good work for the story, they just aren't, like, plot critical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We get, like, they get their moments. Is this the book where we start talking about the high energy magic building kids
Yes.
too? Yeah, because
The
those,
high energy magic
those
building
kids
is
are
finally
great.
here. Yeah, we're going to hear about them, and we're going to hear about Hex a lot more as we go forward. They're still not
thank
going to be
God.
very important to the plot, but we're going to be hearing about them a lot more.
No, but it
the high
is
energy
it is fun.
The high energy magic kids have been around forever. They just, like, only got to start getting to do stuff here.
So
Yeah, Ponder Stibbins showed up in Moving Pictures as Victor Tugelman's roommate, and now he's finally, like, after going on a road trip with Ridcully in Lords and Ladies, he's, like, finally here in his, well, kind of in his element in this book, too, and that's really fun.
yeah, it's,
You were going to say, June? Sorry.
speaking of moving pictures, did anyone else feel like this book was just what if moving pictures had good jokes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, the book itself says as much. Like, this is just like moving pictures, but, you know, the jokes were a lot better.
Yeah,
It's moving pictures through the lens of Mort.
kind of, yeah. It's just I think of the plot of this book and I think of all the failings, like, oh, you have some interesting protagonists, but they aren't like that. They don't do much in a lot of ways. They just kind of have stuff happening to them. Oh, you've got like a lot of wizards there who are just kind of there and being goofy and used for jokes. You have so many, oh, it's the real world, but in Discworld jokes. You have Dibbler showing up to be a capitalist in the worst way. All of these things, and like, though it's kind of the same thing, it all just kind of peters out at the end without a, like, really satisfying ending, although there's some very cool stuff. It's just that this book I laughed at a lot. Like, I genuinely found a lot of the jokes in this book really funny, which I can't say for most of the other books I'd compare this to. Like, I didn't find a lot of the jokes in Moving Pictures or, what was the original Witches book? Was it,
Weird Sisters.
Yeah, Weird Sisters. I didn't find a lot of them there funny. This one, it was like, oh yeah, no, the music jokes are funny.
Yeah, this one made me put the e-reader down a couple times, groan audibly, and angrily repeat the punchline. Which hasn't happened in a while.
Now, how much of that is because we've the music stuff has sort of stayed in pop culture a lot better than a lot of the movie tropes that Moving Pictures used?
Oh, I think there's that too. Yeah, like it's with the movie stuff. A lot of the stuff they're calling back to is like silent movie era stuff, or like the golden age of Hollywood. Whereas with this, it's like, oh yeah, well pop music has been around since like the 50s, which was 80 years ago, but it's still stayed at like people still know who like Elvis is, or like the Four Seasons, or like stuff from the 60s and 70s and shit still gets played on the radio. Like music is, I guess, more alive in a way than movies are, in a way that's very apt to this book's themes.
Yeah, but still, there were just like a
that
lot
makes
of
sense.
puns in this book that actually worked for me. A lot of the gags involving the different bands were genuinely like interesting cuts or genuinely funny. Even like the moments where he did a similar thing to what he did in Moving Pictures, where he like really opens up about how cool music is. Let's embrace stardom and describe it. Here, there were moments where I was like, oh, that was actually really cool writing. The way you described that made me kind of like in awe of this thing, which I
Yeah,
can't really say about Moving Pictures.
Every time the band with Roxy gets up and plays on the stage, it's like Terry is really conveying to you that, like, listen, this is obviously some eldritch bullshit, and the band knows it. Everyone in the band knows it, that they're playing with forces they can't understand and are probably going to hurt them later. But in that moment, it feels so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
For everyone involved. So it's like, yeah, I get it. I get why you would continue with that. It's really cool.
It's kind of what holds up Buddy as a protagonist, in my opinion, because he doesn't do anything, and he's not that interesting for almost all of the book. But, like, the way it describes him just being controlled by the music and just sucked into it in this intense way, genuinely really cool.
It's easier to see why he sticks around for it than why Victor stuck around for everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because, you're reading this going, yeah, I'd probably do the exact same thing for the exact same reasons. He's more relatable in that way, and yeah, the fact that he's just being pulled along the whole time is more central to who he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like he's essentially being played like an instrument by his instrument for most of the book. Whenever he's not on stage for it. And, like, really, like, the big turning point for his personal arc comes when he asserts his own sense of self and becomes something greater than the canon by playing the song that he won his little competition with at the start of the book. Like, showing the crowd not just who Buddy is, but who Imp is.
Honestly, part of what I really liked about that scene was the way that it's kind of implied that he still has this power in him. That it's almost like a deal with the devil, where he's like, all right, fine, I'll go out on your terms, I'll do what you want, I'll die horribly, whatever you want, but, like, let me have this. And he's able to channel that same music, but into a completely different style. It's very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all still spellbound by his little harp number, Johnny Be Good.
Yeah.
That was one of the ones where I had to put down the book, yell, and then pick the book back up again.
That, and, like, I audibly said, his name is Buddy Holly?
So
I mean, look at him. He looks just like Buddy Holly.
Ooh-wee-oo.
Also, before we continue, I have to make an incredibly important point here. There's one thing that I feel like has to inform the rest of our discussion and this entire episode.
Mm-hmm.
The band in this, which Pratchett, according to this, considers this foundational music to the universe. Yes, it's rock, but more than that, it's rock that started the universe. The coolest thing possible. That band has an electric guitar, a drum set, sometimes a keyboard, and a horn. Pratchett is embracing ska. This is what we've learned here.
Oh no! Like, no.
I think if this book had been published a few years later, there'd absolutely be a Smash Mouth joke or something in there, right?
Oh, I mean, there'd be a ton.
Absolutely.
But I just find it very funny that Pratchett's thing is like, okay, well, obviously you need drums, you need a guitar, you might need a keyboard, and then of course a horn. Like that's one of the most important parts of rock.
Literally, like, if you do think about the history of like English, like, Northern Soul and stuff, like, that's. Absolutely, horns do have a place in British rock music, for sure. But as Americans, it is very strange for us to imagine, like,
it's ska.
Horns, natural part. Yeah, no, we're just thinking, that's, they're definitely picking it up on the stage right here. But, yeah, no, that's very odd and a good point. But
it was really fun. I just kept thinking about it as I read the book.
I thought that I really, really liked, like, in Men at Arms, Terry kind of, like, finds a real sweet spot with the relationship between Cuddy and Detritus. And in this book we get two more dwarf and troll bestie pairings, but the one that takes up most of the book is Cliff and Glod. And, like, one, I think it's really, I love their dynamic because, one, it's like, it's the same dynamic as Cuddy and Detritus, but, like, without the whole, like, baggage of, like, getting over racial issues. It's more just like, yeah, like we're both musicians first, and like musicians tend to be like underneath the heel of society no matter what, unless they're actually really good. And two, it was great to see them like kind of bounce off each other, because like Cliff is this very like no nonsense pragmatist, as opposed to like Glad, who is like more like tries to pretend to be more of a pragmatist at the start, but is like clearly more like kind of taken in with the whole music thing later on. I don't know. It's real. They're just a really interesting couple, and I think they provide a lot of color to the book, where Buddy is just kind of like an inert protagonist.
Yeah. Buddy doesn't do anything. He's just kind of the voice of the music. So like having them two be able to riff on stuff and talk about stuff, especially because it doesn't do what like Cliff is a bit of a character, not just haha troll dumb, and so is there's a lot of weird characterization to Glad that I actually really enjoyed. Like the
Glad is so strange.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
his whole bit where he's terrible at negotiating.
Yeah. He's awful with money, which is kind of reflected with like his name being a misspelling of gold.
I did
and
not
like also
consider that, but yeah.
I love that, like, when they're on tour, instead of, like, trashing hotel rooms, he, like, redecorates them and makes them look better, which is, like, such a weird, obtuse joke, but which I actually really liked a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I love that because they just don't... It's one of those jokes that they just don't call any actual attention to.
Yeah. If you get it, you get it. And if you don't, well, they're just doing weird stuff, I guess.
Yeah, loves the cream wallpaper, whatever.
It's just really funny. But yeah, like they're just this constant presence throughout the book, and like them plus like getting Asphalt in the mix is like kind of like the person who actually tells them where to go and what to do, which like Asphalt is their roadie, and he's named Asphalt because he's a fucking roadie, in case that wasn't immediately obvious. This book is so full of fucking puns. It's wild.
Asphalt was a good part of the dynamic just because he got to be like the normal one. Like,
yeah, and I love that also he was the one who was like, the seasoned old hand of the road with music, even though that like rock music hasn't really existed for very long. He still has that patina of like age and experience.
There's this weird thing where, like, all of the components have existed, but they haven't come together before, because he keeps giving all of these stories about things that you would normally associate with, quote-unquote, the rock and roll lifestyle, but it's just some other random band.
It's like, it's kind of like music existed before that, but this is the first time in the Discworld universe that music has a mythos, literally like an animus to it, which is, you know, the music inside of Buddy's guitar. It's the same idea that kind of makes us think of rock and roll as sort of a canon nowadays. That makes us think of the traditional idea of the rock star as, quote, larger than life, unquote, even though they're just... These days, they're just jack-offs trying to get hits on Spotify, just like any other artist. But, you know, there's the idea of that still echoes. And I feel like that's kind of what they're riffing on here. It's not so much that rock music couldn't have existed before this, it's that rock music didn't have a story being told about itself that hit, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you didn't have rock stars, right? Like,
Right.
They talk about, like, oh, well, yeah, before this, all bands were named shit like Blondie is Merry Troubadours or whatever. Or, you know, music was for, like, you know, a bunch of old dudes with harps being like, oh, you sound pretty good, but in 50 years, you know, you'll be able to play some real music.
I wanna go into this because I find it really interesting how, like, the idea of kind of music having a mythos and what he does here, because this is something Pratchett does a lot in like his books that are what if we import something from Roundworld, which is like there's a whole culture, there's a whole mythos, there's a whole history here, but when you get that without the history our world has, how does it work, what's it like? And it's interesting, and I want to talk about it more, but it's like I'll save that for the end of the episode because it gets into my more political thoughts on this one, which is going to be interesting.
Political, ooh.
But it was fun. I liked this book.
It was a breezy read. It was a romp.
It was really easy to read.
Yeah. I kind of mentioned that while this isn't like this really is like comfort food for Discworld, but this is the kind of shit that I really remember from back when I was first reading it, when, back in high school, I guess. But this is the stuff that tended to stick with me, is these weird jokes, the odd emulation, the let's take this apart and put it back together. This is what my memories tell me Discworld is. And I don't know if that's specific to me or if that's just like sort of the pop culture legacy of Discworld, or I don't know where I'm going with this.
I think I get what you're saying. I think part of it is just because, like, as I said, it's the same as a lot of the earlier books, like a lot of what the Rincewind books were, a lot of like what Moving Pictures was, a lot of the books. It's just that this one's good. Like, this one you read through and you're like, haha, that was a good music joke. I get that. And so, like, if you're thinking back to what Discworld is, and a lot of your memories are of that older, like, putting all of these jokes in, putting all of these references and this sort of thing in, having the one where it's funny and entertaining and, like, cool is probably the one that resonates the most.
I guess what I should be thinking of is these are the ones that are easier to talk about with just anybody.
Yeah.
Because this is easy to digest stuff. This is the stuff that's easy to relate. This is something, if you're trying to get somebody to read Discworld, this wouldn't be a bad place to lead them in. Mm-hmm. Because while a bunch of stuff is already established, a lot of it is working off of stuff the reader's already going to know because they've lived in a society and they've osmosed it.
Yeah. Right. Like, we talk a lot about how excited we are for the Night Watch episode because it's a good one. But also, like, starting with Night Watch with Discworld is a little bit like jumping straight into the deep end. Whereas, like, this book, Soul Music, definitely feels more like a good starter to, like, what's Discworld like to read? Well, here you go. It's a lot of jokes, and it's kind of a weird mirror of our worlds, but kind of not quite right in humorous ways. And also it mildly critiques some things, but in this book, nothing really that sharp. And also, we get a whole lot of death action in it, which is really fun. I had forgotten how much, like, death action was in this book. I remember there was some, but, like, it's maybe about, like, a third of the book entirely, which is more than I remember it being. I remember it being just, like, kind of a little side plot. Which was nice.
You wouldn't think that would kick off the whole action of the book, because that's one of the things that you notice about this book that kind of annoyed me personally was, like, this book has, like, okay, so we're following Death and Susan and the Wizards and the band and, some other bands, and Dibbler and sometimes, like, the Watch or whoever and it feels like it's spreading itself a bit thin at times.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, I feel like with the bits with Susan in it and the bits about the music, I could see how Terry would maybe think that both of those parts are maybe a little bit too flimsy to really stand on their own, so he combined them together. But together, I do agree that sometimes they do fumble for your attention. Like, they kind of get in the way. And, like, the place where they kind of meet with the ending and with Susan constantly trying to show up to stop the bumbling musicians guild from murking Buddy were maybe the parts where the seams showed the most.
Yeah, to be fair, the Musicians Guild would have killed Buddy every one of those times if Susan hadn't stepped in. They were only bumbling because they were being foiled. But yeah, it's like there's the thematic parallel between Buddy and Princess Kelly that way, but, like, I'm not sure if it really adds anything, because, like, Susan has, like, a sort of weird teenage crush on Imp that never really goes anywhere, and never will again, because Imp never shows up after this book. even though Susan will.
Yeah, that was one of the weirder things that it ends and it's like, oh wow, it's saying something about them like Susan and Imp and oh, he never shows up again? No one in this book ever shows up again except Susan? Huh. Well, okay.
I guess we saw who's the breakout character here, huh?
I feel like Pratchett might have thought that Susan was going to be like a 1-bit character.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean,
he definitely thought that at the start, but
she's the granddaughter of Death. She's too cool.
So what did y'all think of Susan actually?
screaming
she's
gender
too
every time she
cool.
was on.
Yeah.
Just screaming gender every time she's on camera.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love the idea of somebody being goth by default. She didn't want to be goth. She was just more practical minded and didn't have a lot of patience for people, and that combined with being
Death's
part of
granddaughter.
Death's bloodline means that she was absolutely goth to the max. That fucking rules. Hell yes.
There were times when I felt she was a bit too. Pratchett struggled to know what to do with her. She didn't really do much for a lot of the book. She was just kind of there being a bit spooky and there to like realize things and such. But I really loved what she was becoming and what she is, and I want to see more of her. If this had been a book that didn't get a sequel, she would be the character I was going, oh, she was so close to being perfect. I really hope we could have seen more of her someday. But we do get more of her, and
Good
it's
news.
everything I wanted.
We do.
So
She only shows up in like 3 books, but
she's
Like,
incredible. She's
they're
perfect.
big
She's
appearances. Yeah. She doesn't overstay her welcome. Yeah, like there are definitely in this book, she definitely had her moments of like proto Joss Whedon, like, well, that just happened.
Yeah, she spent a lot of time
kind of, like,
going around, like, not really sure what to do. Like, what
I
does
mean,
this mean? What do I do with this?
she's 16 years old, and she's got to put up with the fucking Discworld while trying to be practical about things.
Yeah.
I can't really fault her for doing this.
Yeah, fair.
Sort of like how Isabel was really grating a lot of the time, but she was just a kid, so of course she was grating. And, that's still not a great defense, but it would have been weirder if she wasn't, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wish that maybe things had been a little bit like, I don't know. I wish that she had gotten more of a chance to actually do something, but like I feel like a lot of that is just on the plot of this book wasn't really there. Like no one really does anything.
Yeah. Like she spends a lot of time getting dragged around by like the Raven and the Death of Rats, but even they're not all that helpful.
Actually, I can't think of like a single character in this book aside from Death at the very end who is like proactive in doing things. Mm-hmm. Every single character is just kind of reacting to what's going on around them, and not even in a way that's like changing anything. Just like, well, this sure is a thing. Oh God, I got to deal with it.
Counterpoint, I would argue that Dibbler is very proactive in this book.
Oh, fuck off.
I mean, Death kind of shows up at the end, mostly just go ahead and fix everything, because of course he's the only person who has any clue what to do. And that's good, because like the ending kind of had to hurry up and happen one way or the other.
Yeah, like, so, I'm sorry, this was still a little bit unclear to me. Like, when Death, like, plays, like, the empty chord and then hands the guitar back over to Buddy to restart the music or whatever, is that just kind of, like, the equivalent of him essentially being, like, if I wanted to, I could end it for you idea of music?
That's absolutely what he's doing. He's holding a gun to the universe's head and saying, you cut this shit out or I'm just stopping the car and we're all getting off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the implication there is that, like, hey, universe, if you don't fucking quit this shit right now, we're done. We're just going to stop it. I'm going to kill everybody. End of the world. I could do this at any moment. Which is a hell of a flex.
Pulling rank, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's after he basically rode a motorcycle all the way over there after the motorcycle fell apart.
So
there's some really good album covers in this book.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that one like basically is an album cover.
Yes,
right?
it is.
Oh, yeah,
it is.
Bat
It's
Outta
also
Hell,
just
baby.
a Bat Out of Hell cover.
Fuck yeah.
But but like Death posed with the fragment of his own scythe in one hand and the guitar in the other.
Yeah, that's some cool ass shit. That's some cool ass shit.
Wearing, mind you, the leather jacket he took from James the Dean.
God.
Our rebel without a pause.
God, that joke killed me.
Gosh.
That joke
the
had
fact
me
that,
so mad.
A jacket he borrowed from the Dean, just a fucking American Pie joke while they're in the middle of staging American Pie.
Yep.
God. There are some very good jobs of layering these stupid references
The whole
together.
thing where he invents jeans and then he's like, they won't name them after you, and his name is Dean. Just like,
yeah, they're a pair of Deans.
yeah. Oh. The jokes here were good. They were really funny.
Again, like the Wizards didn't do anything, but also this book would have been so much less without them because that was very funny, that shit.
I appreciate the Wizards being sort of the thaumaturgical canaries in the coal mine. That's a good bit. That is a good reason to use them, even if they're not actually doing anything. Their existence is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they were just really funny.
Yeah, like the book would have been lacking something without the Wizards.
But I have I have a theory about this book and how it exists that relates to all of this. My theory is that the way this book came about, and I have absolutely no evidence for it aside from reading the book, is that every single time in the past, 5 books, that Pratchett would come up with a music joke, he would, write it down somewhere on a sheet of paper and then put it just in a folder. And then eventually he just had a thick enough folder that he was like, all right, I can throw together some half-assed plot and figure it out, but I'm going to use all of these. And
there is that story on L-Space about him getting the idea for the "We're certainly dwarves" joke from a fan.
Oh yeah,
what a good joke!
Yeah,
so good. Shout out to They Might Be Giants.
Apparently they were niche over there at the time. I don't know if they are now or not. Fuck if anyone knows anymore.
I mean, he was a huge They Might Be Giants fan for a while. He talked about it a couple of times. He loved them.
Yeah. He made a reference to one of the songs in the last book.
Yeah, game recognized game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is generally how as a writer, a lot of stories end up getting written because you just have a bunch of tiny little ideas that you just write down and then they just kind of katamari into a story eventually. So it's probably that seems likely as to the origin of this book, I think.
I liked the parts with I liked the parts with Susan, and I liked all of the parts of her talking with Death and figuring out who she is. But they felt like a very small story that didn't really have a ton of connection with the main story. That they felt like a retread of Mort in a way that wasn't
Yeah, that's
fine.
the problem too. Is that Moving Pictures is a book that definitely could have used a second attempt. Mort, less so.
Yeah,
it's really weird that she travels back in time to Mort and sort of makes this weird kind of quasi-retcon.
Which
Death
is
spots her, laughs, and that's apparently why he decides to go ahead and spare their lives.
Which I think is more just part of the Back to the Future references in this.
Oh God, you're right. There's a lot of Back to the Future jokes in this one.
I will say, I liked seeing Death in the past. I don't know if this was intentional, but I liked the difference between Death as we see him in the present and Death in the past, mostly because there's a reading of it as Death in the past is very cruel and very callous, and Death now is very much not so, and it's mostly because of Reaper Man. And you can really read that in pretty easily.
Yeah, it's a very Old versus New Testament sort of approach, where it's oh yeah, there was that bit in between these two books where he really got together with humans and mellowed out, huh?
I like Susan just looking out on the field of wheat and going, why the fuck did he make this? And she never gets any closure on that. It's just, she just looks at it and goes, huh, that's weird, and then goes about her business.
The homie just loves his bread, He just really likes that farm to table.
Yeah. But I really liked Susan. I really liked what she did in the story. I really liked who she was. The implications of her and Buddy are weird and just I don't get it. Why'd you do that, Pratchett?
I almost wonder if he feels on some level like he has to like pair up his protagonist by the end, because it seems like this happens a lot.
Yeah, he does.
Like, I mean, this happened with Mort and Death's daughter.
Well, Mort tried to do it with Princess Kelly, but that just kind of dissipates.
It happened in Mort. It happened in Sorcery. It happened in Pyramids. It
happened in Weird Sisters.
Yeah, but Weird Sisters, it worked out a little bit better.
It's going to happen again later to Susan, although that one's a bit better, and I'll yell about it.
It just keeps happening. I don't know if that kind of thing really... I can't say he ever clicks into a groove with it. There are a few pairings that really make sense, but most of them are just like...
Do you think his editor tells him, you should insert some kind of romance in this, or do you think like his own internal editor just kind of keeps saying, I should do this?
I think it's an internal editor thing where it's like, oh, well, you gotta have a little like romance in it. That's a classic of story, but like, not necessarily. But
it's the old Shakespeare thing of, if there's a wedding in it, it's a comedy. Otherwise, it's a tragedy. So you have to have like something in there.
There's got to be a pairing. There's got to be misunderstood identities, and one of the characters has to fake death for a little bit, and that's how you get a Shakespeare play.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the stuff with Albert was just kind of there. Like,
yeah.
Like he goes around looking for death, but he doesn't find anything, and we get another retread of the obnoxious Kalachian Foreign Legion bit, which I guess is a reference to a movie no one has seen because it's from like the 30s.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a reference to the French Foreign Legion, like.
Well, there's one specific movie that's being referenced. It was used for the basis of Death's name in the Legion itself.
Yeah, Beaugest.
Yeah, he got named Bone Idol.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen this movie from 1939, I guess this whole bit doesn't make any sense.
The concept of the French Foreign Legion in pop culture came almost entirely from that one movie.
Sure.
And that was something that made a lot more sense 30 years ago, but I don't know anyone our age or younger who's ever really said the words French Foreign Legion in their lives.
Yeah, it's something you see in like old Archie comics where like someone threatens, I'm going to run away and join the French Foreign Legion because I'm mad at you or whatever.
I think Snoopy did it a couple dozen times.
Yeah, Snoopy and like, I think it was in a few Bugs Bunny cartoons is where I first heard about it, but it's never... it's never been a concept that was anything outside of the realm of cartoons for me.
Yeah.
I think that if someone's going and joining an organization in order to forget, these days it's usually just going out to sea, which seems a bit more universal and would have worked better in my head, but like at the same time, Pratchett was using what pieces he already had together, and he wanted an excuse to use the fucking Hershey Bar joke because nobody got Jelly Baby.
It's also one of those things where once again Pratchett loves to use the like aesthetics of our world and the things that are there, like referencing a movie with the Kalachian Foreign Legion fighting vague invaders in the desert, but without any of the history of, say, colonialism or such that contextualizes it and such. Yeah. And so you just get weird, vaguely racist stuff with no like info or anything behind it. It's just there.
They're literally called the dregs.
It's one of the biggest problems Pratchett has, especially in the earlier books, in my opinion, is he keeps referencing these things, but because he can't give them a history in his world, it's just a reference. When it's referencing like funny music, well, I'll get into this. It's just kind of funny, but when it's referencing something that has a complex history, it then becomes that thing completely removed from history, and that's not great a lot of the time. Although, once again, at least here it's funnier. Like, the jokes about the guy not being able to remember anything in the place you go to forget is actually pretty funny. Or the joke about him being buried to his neck and then just sitting there and, like, finding it relaxing. Also a pretty good gag. It's still bad, but it's better than in earlier books where I was like, wow, I hate this and nothing here is funny. Here I'm like, I hate this. At least he wrote a couple good jokes during it.
Yeah. I thought the forgetful guy was like funny the first time the joke happened. And then it kept happening. And it was like,
I think the reason I found it funny was the cotton joke.
Yeah, no, look, try to read his name on his clothes, and all he could get was just, like, the back of a clothes tag.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good gag.
What'd y'all think of the wizards section of the book? Because that's
they were fun.
Another part.
Yeah, they're fun. Again, they're good fluff, and you need some amount of fluff for these stories to work.
Yeah, like you can't. Yeah, like you have to do something in between the Blues Brothers references, of which there are like at least 5.
So many. Did like Mission from God? Did like No Man We're Musicians?
The diner scene where they order 4
for
fried rats,
and
4 bread and a Coke. Yeah.
And then they'll throw in the Marx Brothers for good measure. So it's the 2 hard-boiled eggs on top of all of that. Make that 3 hard-boiled eggs. God. Oh, for God's sakes. Am I the only person who knows that routine?
No, I had to read off the L space adaptation.
I have seen a lot of Marx Brothers, fortunately.
My parents had very old taste and usually very bad taste, but thank God they at least instilled some Marx Brothers in me.
I saw Marx Brothers a while back. It's been a grip
no,
since I've watched them, so forgive me.
Okay, no, sorry. I'm just getting overly defensive about jokes, apparently.
So-called Marxists win.
Okay, I just think it's funny to mix Marx Brothers and Blues Brothers.
Oh, I did. Yeah, they're both.
I
didn't even get that. Why that would be a mix? Huh? God.
2 famous bros, or 4 famous. No, 5, 6, depending on what period of the Marx Brothers you're asking about. Several famous bros.
Yeah, I also we got more Ridcully in this book. A lot of Ridcully.
Yeah, I said he got a lot of good characterization. He is a fun character, and it is great to just let him loose on a scene.
Yeah. This is the most competent we've seen him, which is wild. He's slowly metamorphosing from like, oh, he's the new guy, but he's kind of a joke, but he's a different kind of guy than most of the wizards. And in this, it's like, oh, I could believe that this man actually runs a school for wizardry. He does still have that kind of like way of buzzsawing through any like social situation or tricky issue, but he kind of has his shit together a little bit more than in previous books.
Like, he is in his element of being like, you know, the older guy who doesn't get all this rock and roll nonsense.
Yeah, his whole thing is just he's like the odd one out of the wizards for being your like buff dad, basically.
Yeah.
And so he's a great contrast, but also he's got a bunch of great characterization in how he goes over stuff and how it's portrayed as though even though he's kind of a weird asshole who doesn't like the future or moving there, he's also genuinely quite smart in a way that a lot of the other wizards refuse to be. Like the whole scene where they realize how to trap it in a box and one of the wizards is excitingly explaining it in front of Dibbler, and he's just like, let's not do that. Let's never talk in front of Dibbler about anything ever.
Yeah. He seems like the best possible person to be in charge if the dungeon dimensions are actually breaking through at this point.
I mean, they kind of mentioned that he's sort of rearranged and admittedly started to kind of ossify the Unseen University now, just because he's this big stone that they can't dislodge. So everything just sort of has to resettle around him, and we stop just killing all of the wizards every book that wizards appear in.
Yeah. I mean, what, are you going to try to kill Buff Dad? I'm not going to try to kill Buff Dad.
They tried to kill Buff Dad! He killed them back!
Yeah. Buff Dad will kill you! He'll ground you, and then he'll put you in a headlock and kill you!
I really out the window.
I really feel like also a lot of this just comes from, like, you could tell Pratchett really enjoyed writing Ridcully in the Last Witches book. Like, a lot. And I feel like a lot of that was just Pratchett being like, I want to go back to this character. I like him. Because you can kind of see, that was where I think Ridcully really started to get his good characterization of just like...
Yeah, because kind of like this rowdy, outdoorsy older guy. Yeah.
The dude's a crowbar, and sometimes you need something to open the crate.
Yeah.
Finally, the anti-Rincewind.
He's great in contrast to the rest of the university.
Especially because he's also like he's the only senior staff who we actually get a name for him. Everybody else is referred to by their office.
By their titles, you're right.
Yeah.
Except for Ponder Stibbins.
Yeah,
Well, Ponder Stibbins
he's
is
a younger
still,
one. He's a student.
He's like graduate, yeah.
Yeah, but in previous books, like, that was because the Arch-Chancellor would keep swapping out. But in this, it's like, no, Ridcully is kind of the thing that the other wizards orbit around. It's interesting.
Yeah, and everyone else is this kind of cloud around him. I thought they said Ponder Stibbins was like the youngest of the senior staff or something like that. Like he got a promotion.
Did he?
He might have, but he'll never act like it.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
The dude is a graduate student for the rest of his life.
I'm trying to think of what else there was in this book. There were just so many little smaller threads that it's like you could pick at any of them.
What did y'all think of Crash and Scum and the Gang, the other band that we followed throughout a bunch of this book?
Kind of washouts are grungier side of the rock music wave.
Mm-hmm.
Pratchett really, really liked the jokes he kept making there. And some of them were really funny.
Yeah.
They felt like mostly a joke vehicle, though.
Yeah, but there were some good jokes, and I love the one about, like, I think my favorite thing with them is that, like, one of them's like, oh yeah, we need some leopard skin pants, but so I bought some off of a guy. The problem is, like, he sold it to me for real cheap because I had to take him off the leopard first, and the leopard doesn't want us to remove its pants. It's just like, oh my god.
And then, several pages later, we find it's a deaf leopard.
Oh, what a terrible
I mean, for the most part, they seem to exist mainly so that Pratchett could just, like, offload all of his stock puns at a discount.
Yeah.
Okay,
But, like, at the same time, it was funny, so...
Calling them,
he had all these...
calling them insanity, which is probably a reference to Madness, which is a ska band. I just want to say it's a ska band because, like, it's important that I'm telling you there's something here, but later on, like, them being the surreptitious fabric, like, it's just endlessly using the same, these jokes, but they're funny. The Whom?
Yeah. They go through so many, and yet they walk past, like, they don't even consider the Rolling Stones, as one of them says, well, you know what they say about, not gathering moss.
There's so much.
It's very silly.
The fucking... So, throughout the entire book, people keep telling Buddy, like, he looks a bit elvish, doesn't he? Until it finally culminates in the joke about, he's Elvish Presley, as he's thrusting his hips on the stage.
Yeah. God.
Yeah, but then there's also there's the joke at the end about, like, he works at, like, a chip shop, and all the girls in town say that there's a guy who works down at the chip shop and they swear he's Elvish.
Yeah.
And that's apparently a reference to, like, some other singer-song who I literally hadn't heard of before you posted it in the chat room before we started recording by Christy McCall.
Yeah, this fucking hit song from 1981, literally titled "There's a guy works down at the chip shop There's a guy works down at the chip shop swears he's Elvis."
Yeah, which is like Matryoshka joke right there.
God, I really enjoyed this book, even though it's got a lot of problems. Speaking of things that didn't quite work, what'd y'all think of the Musicians Guild? You'll never guess what I thought of the Musicians Guild from that intro.
They didn't learn a damn thing. They just didn't actually matter at any point.
Yeah, like, you'd think they're gonna, like, kick off the story, and they kind of do by, being the reason our fellows have to join a band and kind of go underground. But then, I don't know, they just spend their time trying to kill our guys. Like, I'd say it's a reference to Carrie Fisher's character in the Blues Brothers, but no, it isn't. They just don't do anything.
I was about to say, listen, they're no Illinois Nazis. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just kind of there, and it doesn't really work. Like,
they really try to make a thing out of, like, Mr. Cleet being like, he's the paper pusher of the guild, and he's like the death of creativity, man. But, like, they don't really pull it off, and he just kind of comes out as, like, a watered down version of what's that other wizard guy from, like, the Light Fantastic? Was that, like, Trimon or something?
I know who you're talking about. I think that's right.
The guy who wasn't a big magic user, but just liked things to be kind of more organized and was seen as a dangerous person because he was very practical. Similar thing here.
I think Pratchett just made up a guy or had a particular type of guy he was mad at. And then spent most of the... Because, he'll, take swipes at Mr. Cleet even when the scene has nothing to do with him. The outpost was here on this little dotted line because of people like Mr. Cleet. Which is really mad at, this particular type of guy. I wonder if it's, a swipe at some editor or whatever.
Oh, God, maybe he had a really bad experience at the BMV or something.
I mean...
Yeah...
I feel like this kind of guy is one of Pratchett's favorite types of villains. Not just a pencil pusher, but a person who takes something alive and kind of condenses it down to just money and bureaucracy, but in a shitty way to deprive other people of things. Which is... you see this villain, over and over and over in Discworld, in my opinion. A lot of the big bad guys have shades of this.
I made a jab in the summary about how everyone important survives the incident because for some reason there is no reason for why Cleet and company were chasing after the band.
And they even say this.
They keep saying, "Can we just please not do this?" And I guess because you had to have the band running from something, but they were already running from 3 different things. There was nothing gained by having them chase, and there was nothing gained by having Cleet just fucking die.
It feels like a weird dig at the recording industry or whatever, but the recording industry, kind of gets invented by wizards and dib on accident, and that doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, they forget about it.
Surprisingly, this is one of very few rock and roll narratives that don't involve some sort of recording contract deal with the devil thing. The devil literally is the music in this case.
And also Dibbler, who's, very pointedly taking, here's your $10. Here, I'll have my guy carry the stack of, $5,000 from the door.
Oh, I get it. It really was the devil's music. Ha ha.
Yeah. It feels like a villain from a different Discworld book who kind of got not his entire bit here. Just the outline. It feels like someone summarized a better Discworld villain without any of the story or characterization or interesting stuff. Just kind of, here's all the bits you need to know. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, hell, he's one of the clowns from the last book, isn't he?
Yeah.
One of the fucking, bureaucrat clowns.
Yeah, I was going to say, he feels like a character who, again, similar to the romantic angle, Pratchett maybe felt we need to have at least one guy who's the antagonist who readers can point a finger at and say, well, that's the bad guy. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
But you really honestly didn't need that for this book.
Yeah, Mort didn't have an antagonist.
Reaper Man didn't have an antagonist. Or no, it did. I guess it did have a bunch of antagonists.
And we do
What?
sort of have an... Oh.
I was about to say, it feels like they've done this before in a better direction. Because I feel like in a different draft of the story, the Musicians Guild has the sense to go, okay, look, this rock music is nonsense, but we can make a lot of money on it. Why don't we just pull all these kids in? But I'm realizing, oh right, this is pre-déjà vu for the fucking printing wars, 4 years from now.
Yeah, exactly.
When we get to the truth.
It's a villain that Pratchett will do later much better over and over again in 50 books.
Mm-hmm.
And also, there is sort of a villain. Not exactly a villain, but you have the music as this force.
Mm-hmm.
And the book actually, I'm kind of, even though it didn't go anywhere, it was an interesting question of how do you stop music itself? How do you defeat it? And the book never answers this or has any interesting even thoughts on it aside from you can't.
It would have been really nice if Buddy had anything really to do with the finale. All he did was play a chord because he was told to play the chord.
Yeah, and even at the day the music died, which he recreates in the book, which I mean, is that it? Music didn't actually die on the day that music died. It just killed 3 guys.
Okay, because it was supposed to, because they kind of timelines kind of got twisted around there. There was supposed to be a day that the music died, but then they just sort of kept it from happening, and it's somewhat unclear how much of the book, quote unquote, really happened.
Yeah.
Because they're just don't worry about it. You're thinking about this too hard.
Yeah.
And like it sort of happened, but sort of didn't, and everyone's going to just mostly forget about rock music, except when Pratchett needs to make jokes about rock music again in future books.
Mm-hmm. It's a sorcery situation. This plot took place in a bubble that now will have very little to no impact on anything else ever, except when Terry thinks it's cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's my least favorite thing he would do.
Yeah.
But once again, it's funny.
A dream.
Yeah.
It was an important theme that humans can only remember so much. And look, if you try to make every single action in all 40-odd books of this series canon, you'd be in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was going to just ask, what was your favorite joke in the book? I realize that's a tough thing to ask because there's a lot of them.
God.
So Glod tells a story about some guy who stole a horn from the gods, and Buddy goes, in 50 years, who would you rather people remember as the best horn player of all time? Some felonious monk or Glod Glodson? And that made me put the book down.
That's a good one.
That one was so bad. I'm trying to think. There were so many.
These were both like little weird incidental things, but a couple of different things that Ridcully says and just nobody comments on. Like when he's talking about, this is going to be another Dungeons & Dimensions situation. Don't you remember what happened to Mr. Hong and how there just 1 minute everything was fine, then just this explosion of fried food, and who can you really rely on when the chips are down?
Jesus Christ.
Or similarly when the all of the cooking staff have just gone into like 60s cheerleader
doo-wop
situation, and they're clearly serving cheeseburgers, and Ridcully has no idea what this is, and while he's poking at it, he's just saying that someone's playing silly burgers.
Mm-hmm.
God. That's terrible.
They're both awful jokes, and I'm glad that no attention gets paid to them.
God.
Fucking music is a world of hurts.
That one was bad. That one made me angry.
Or, Susan suddenly felt important. Wizards are rumored to be wise. In fact, that's where the word came from. Footnote. From the old wise R's. Literally, one who, at bottom, is very smart.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my favorite one is actually one that, June posted on Mastodon the other day, so I won't steal it.
Oh, no, you can go ahead.
Okay. My favorite one is, I don't have the passage in front of me because I have like a billion post-it notes in this thing, but it's like Nobby and Colin see the band like rolling into town, and what is it? Colin's like, yeah, what's that one got? I think it's some sort of harp, and then Nobby's like, liar, and like Colin like turns to him and is like, you have been waiting all your life to get to say that, haven't you? You are just so tickled to be able to respond to me saying that by making that pun, huh?
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's this great little dialogue between them.
It's the opposite of like where like how we've said in the past, like, oh, it's great when characters in Discworld say jokes and other characters say what the fuck. It's great to see like the third iteration of that where a character says a joke that was like, hey, I recognize that was a joke, and that was really fucking stupid. You know that? It's just so good. It's so cute.
It almost felt like he knew that he had to make that joke and was like, all right, if I'm going to have to make it, I know who has to make it, and I know exactly how stupid they have to be about it. And it works perfectly.
Yeah, it would not have been funny if it had been a pairing other than Colin and Nobby.
Yep.
Because we already know enough about those two that we know full well that Colin would just absolutely lose his shit at Nobby actually getting a good joke off.
Yep.
And you could already, even though nothing is said about it, you know that Nobby is grinning from ear to ear just the entire time. Because, he's been sitting on that joke for a long time.
You can feel how happy he is with himself at that. It's great.
It's
the spiritual successor to the looters joke and fucking like fantastic.
Dudes posting W's out here.
We also got every time we visit the Mended Drum, there's this through line about like the proprietor trying to have some kind of entertainment there, like some kind of that's why he's hiring musicians so people have something to do with like, well, what happened to the one-armed bandit? Oh, we got arrested. And then later on we get the librarian playing medieval Space Invaders.
Mm-hmm. I swear to God, the librarian is just demonstrating that Terry's got a quota.
Yeah, or when the librarian is rolling up to the big organ in the Unseen University, because that doesn't see much use because there's not a lot of public functions at the Unseen University. Wizards don't have balls. There's a popular song about it.
Yes.
That one was so bad.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. There's one more footnote I gotta share. I apologize.
Oh no, go for it. There were a lot of great ones here.
Talking about how useless the wizards were, saying, the reader in esoteric studies spent so much time reading in what the bursar referred to as the smallest room, that he was generally referred to as the reader in the lavatory, even on official documents. Footnote, the smallest room at Unseen University is in fact a broom cupboard on the 4th floor. He really meant the privy. The reader had a theory that all the really good books in any building, at least all the really funny ones, gravitate to a pile in the privy, but no one ever has time to read all of them, or even knows how they came to be there. His research was causing extreme constipation and a queue outside the door every morning. Sub-footnote to footnote. All the really funny ones refers to the ones with cartoons about cows and dogs, and captions like, as soon as he saw the duck, Elmer knew it was going to be a bad day. The Far Side fucking exists in Discworld. How weird is that shit?
I like to think they're all as confused by cow tools as we were.
Cow tools is a joke that spans timelines. It is perfect no matter what universe you view it in.
I mean, the entire point is that nobody fucking knows what that means, so of course not. There is one universe, one singular universe, where that joke actually made sense.
And that's
we
the
will
one
never
where the cows
find
are
about
growing
it.
it.
Yes.
It was...
God.
Some things are universal, and they are cow tools and horse girls.
Yes, Susan did get a bit of that horse girl. If I knew Binky, I would be a fucking horse girl too. Binky's perfect.
No,
what an
as in-
amazing horse.
Well,
Actually-
yes, but as in, we meet 2 horse girls at the fucking school for young girls. The two who,
We do!
who
I
would
forgot
never
to talk
do
about
anything else, but would gladly clean out stables if it means they got to be close to a horse.
Yeah,
I completely
shit.
forgot about this school. That was a whole thing. And it's really weird, too, because, like, the school is there, and this is something that Pratchett will do a lot with later. Like, there's a vaguely female dwarf here. That's something that's going to be a major thing later on, and here it's just no big deal. Huh.
Yeah.
It was strange to see. I enjoyed
Yeah,
it. I
it was
liked.
really
I
odd.
liked the school bits. They were fun.
Yeah, I got exposed to one of the more baffling pieces of Britishisms in this, which is how they keep using the word gel, which it means like...
Gal.
Gal.
Yeah, a upper-class young girl, apparently.
It's just saying girl, but with a little bit more posh accent on it.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, they're not really calling one another slime girls. I wish they were, but they're not.
'Cause
Gels of a certain upbringing.
this was in one of the earlier Witches books, so I was ready. Like, one of them calls Magritte a gel a couple times, so I had context, but it was... All right. Still weird.
We're getting into a GIF situation here.
Yeah.
It is a gel though. I think, and I will say, I think like my favorite joke in the book might have just been the Rebel Without a Pause one, or the like. The joke about them being deans or any of those. There were too many in this book. Like, I don't know if I could choose one because there's just a lot of really, really funny bits in it.
Yeah,
I will say I did love the introduction of the Duckman as one of the beggars, who is one of my favorite characters of Discworld, as guy with duck on his head who no one will acknowledge that he has a duck on his head, hangs out with 3 extreme weirdos, but is himself relatively normal, except there's a duck on his head that no one ever talks about. And then that leading up to the very end when Death is like, okay, I gotta go, things are happening, I can't just sit here and like hang out with these beggars. And before he goes, he's like, I need to ask, why is there a duck on your head? And he just goes, what duck? And Death is like, very good, and leaves. That is exactly the answer he needed.
Because he has this whole thing in his head about, there's no way he doesn't know, right? It's not like having lint on your shirt. He has to know.
The idea that the entire cosmos has aligned so that nobody has actually told him about the duck, and he's just never noticed it. The just preposterous level of coincidences that must have piled up in this guy's life, and he just genuinely does not know there's a duck up there.
And more than that, Death just being like, you aren't going to answer me? That's all of the answer that I needed to hear to like know that this is inexplicably weird. Of course.
Death is omniscient except when he needs to not be.
Yeah, I'm an immoral paracosmic being, and even I don't have time to explain this shit.
That's great. Oh
God.
I'm trying to think
That's wonderful.
I'm trying to think of anything else in this book. It was interesting to get a look into Pratchett's music tastes.
Yeah.
It was.
Almost all my notes are just like of jokes I liked. Like, I don't know, all the wizards start wearing blue suede shoes or blue suede boots or whatever. Both because that's a song and also so they can set up this "there's magic afoot" joke.
Heyo.
Which gets a similar reaction of you've been waiting to make that fucking joke, haven't you?
But yeah, that's kind of. I mean, that kind of is my thought on the book, is like, there's not really a lot in this book that I'd be interested in going back to, aside from some of the stuff with Susan. I really loved the bit with the swing. I really loved a lot of other stuff they do with Susan, but like, overall, there's not a ton I would be interested in going back to, except, wow, I really liked all of the jokes. It was really funny.
Yeah, I kind of think of this book as comfort food, but like that's being disingenuous, because there's a lot of texture to it. There's a lot more to it than I would normally expect in a plate of comfort food. It's not that it's just simple and comfortable. It's complicated as hell and comfortable. But at the same time, yeah, there's a lot less of the big shit going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a more modest scale Discworld book, which is something to say about one that ends with Death telling music that he could end the universe at any time. But it is modest.
Yeah. But it's still fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
It was good. What was the political thing you were going to make a note of?
Oh, I was
earlier
just
in the episode.
So this isn't really like political, I guess. It's more just like, I found it really interesting how it was kind of this look into what. So this is something I was thinking about with moving pictures as well, but it's much more apparent here, which is that like Pratchett has kind of, you get this sort of like, okay, here is my idea of what music is. Music is these things, and rock and roll is these things. Like, music, rock is, as I said, made the joke about ska, but not even really a joke. Like, yeah, that's kind of what Pratchett thinks it is in a lot of ways. And it's fascinating to see that, just because, like, you don't have any of the context for it, as I said. Like, there's no history to it. There's no world behind it. So instead it just becomes this weird thing of, like, why is this the world? Why is the world like this? Why is music like this in this world? And so you get a lot of like we know in the real world that like a lot of rock and roll has its history in African American music, and that like a ton of what Elvis did directly took his inspiration from that. And like there's a whole complex history there that we probably don't want to get into, but we could potentially. But like that's the thing you could talk about. But in here you get Elvis, but you don't get that. You don't get the history of who he is. You don't get the history of any of this stuff. You just get, haha, it's Elvis. And so it's not really a problem. Like, it's certainly not a complaint that I had about the book, but it makes it this really fascinating thing where, like, they've completely stripped the context from music as something with history, with, like, a story to it, and now it's just Pratchett going, here's all of my best gags, and here's what I think music is. Haha, don't you think music is blank, blank, and blank? And, like, it just feels weird. Like, where's the history of it? It's weirder when, like, there's a joke in the book about rap music, where they call it rap music and stuff. And that one's a lot stranger because, like, there's a lot of history behind that I know, and Pratchett's just putting it in this random English setting with no real meaning behind it.
That was sort of my least favorite jokes in the book. Not just because it was like, oh, yikes, Terry, but also because...
I feel like my brain just, like, glanced off of it.
Yeah, like, also because, like hip-hop music isn't just, like, a mutation of rock music. That's doing it a gross disservice to its actual origins and history and culture. I don't know. That's so weird. But also, like, I don't know. I would love to read a Discworld book about hip-hop. I also would love for that book to not be written by Terry Pratchett.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Well, good news. If it's going to be written...
but yeah, really, it's just like a thing where it's like, it's not like a huge, horrible problem that I had with the book where it wasn't readable or any of this stuff. It's just something I kept thinking about as I read it, how, like, in these books where Pratchett removes something from its culture entirely to shove it into Discworld, in this way, where, not like with, like, future books like The Truth or such, where you kind of have, like, okay, here's the story of what's going on here with Discworld, like, like, the newspaper is invented and it plays out in Discworld how Discworld would have it play out, but rather the style he does here, where it's like, yes, we're making a joke about music, and music shows up. It's rock music. It's very strange to have this just... all music is rock music, I guess. It all comes from this. You have a ton of assumptions below the surface that Pratchett really doesn't want to analyze in any way. And I think it's definitely to his detriment at times like this. I think it gets a lot better as time goes on, but...
God,
here especially,
this would have been a very different book if rock music had been just like this weird synthesis of a human, a troll, and a dwarf start jamming together and accidentally stumble on something, rather than just here's a plot device that's going to move the rest of the story forward.
Yeah.
But that also would have required a lot more research, and I'm going to be honest, I don't think Terry Pratchett would have been the right person to write that.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, it was. Having said that, you know what else I really enjoyed about this book? I really enjoyed the bit where it was like, hey, I really enjoyed the bit where they went to the weird magic store. That was really funny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn everything about every single piece of musical instrument in there. Everything seems so cool. There's a million stories in that store. Yeah. And also, I love that, like, we get a little callback to, like, the joke from The Light Fantastic where, like, Glod is like, I'll bet this is one of those mystical, magical stores that shows up right when you need it. And then suddenly, the next day, it's gone without ever having existed. And then Cliff is like, no, actually, it's just on the other side of the street. You remembered wrong. And Glod was like, oh. And then later in the book, we find out that, no, it is one of those stores. It's just that it only trades places, like, on different sides of the street. Like, that's all it does, which is very fun.
Yeah, you get just the joke of, like, the owner just being kind of a weird asshole, and it's so funny. It's really, really funny that the owner is just like, haha, yeah, no, I'm just going to switch sides of the street. Why? Because I want to bother people. It's genuinely a great bit.
Oh, I thought it was an accident. Like she pulled the lever. She's like, it's a punch.
I forget my own head next.
Yeah, it's a punch. She goes around all these other places, and she forgot what side of the street in Ankh-Morpork she was on.
Oh, okay, I didn't get that, but that's hilarious. It was great. I also really loved the whole bit about, like, them finding the tag on it, and this is the one that had the tag of 1. Like, that's great. That's great. Oh, I liked it.
Yeah. So, speaking of liking it, it's time to assign a numerical value to how much exactly we liked it. Let's go to our big old ranking list.
Woo! Bored.
So, let me start with probably its clearest antecedent. I'm not going to ask if it's better than Moving Pictures, because obviously it's better than Moving Pictures.
Yeah.
Would we say it's better than our number 6, Mort?
That's where I was gonna guess too. Like, personally, I would put it above Mort because I think it.
I would put it right below Mort personally, because I would say it tells Mort's story worse than Mort, but I would certainly say it's better than Witches Abroad.
I could see that.
I
definitely think it's funnier and better written than Mort, but also I feel like Mort has a better kind of through line, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is very clearly standing on Mort's shoulders, so it's hard for me to judge which one's better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I could see it being a little bit worse.
I enjoyed it more than Mort. Like, I found it funnier a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I really admire what Mort did. Well, let's ask this. Do we think it could potentially be better than Guards?
Probably not. That's the thing, right? Is like, the plot was thin, but I did genuinely enjoy a lot of the jokes, but I feel weird, like, I would feel weird recommending a book based on the strength of, they make a lot of Blues Brothers references in this, and I enjoyed that. Like, it's a very Ready Player One reason to recommend something. And it's funnier than that, don't get me wrong, but like...
I definitely think it's better than Witches Abroad, for sure. For sure. I don't know if it's better than Guards, because Guards, while early on, still is pretty, it's pretty well-rounded, is the thing.
Yeah.
I think I could go for a number 7 spot for it, just below Mort.
I think I could argue that this is better than anything except Lords and Ladies. I could argue that, but I don't really feel like I have a good reason to. Why would I? It's fine. Like, the book is pretty good. I don't really feel like I have to.
I'd still put it in, like, my the good shit category, to be clear. Like, it definitely counts as part of the good shit. But, it's just not the most essential good shit. It's a little lower on there. There's nothing to sneeze at with that.
I am definitely, like I said earlier, this is probably one of the ones I would use when trying to introduce somebody to Discworld, depending on where their tastes are. If somebody is just after the lighter stuff, I would definitely hand this to them. So yeah, it was definitely going to go inside the good category alongside Mort. It was always just like which direction it was going to be in.
But I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah, it was good. It was a romp. Very nice. And now, next episode, we have interesting times to look forward to, which
oh crap
will not score as high. I'm already guessing.
Let's
see what our old friend Rincewind is up to again.
At least it's not Eric.
I'm actually really excited for this. I have a reason for it. Because
oh boy,
I feel like we've entered into a bit of a new era of Discworld, where you're kind of seeing a lot of books that, like, even this, I mean, this feels like Moving Pictures, but with good jokes or such. And I feel like this is the point where Pratchett could potentially write a Rincewind book that I found funny. I don't know if he will, but, like, I'm excited to see I'm excited to see him try.
Are you saying, may we live in interesting times?
Absolutely not. You'll find that out in the first sentence of the book why.
Oh, okay. I'm looking forward to that.
But I am genuinely, like, really curious about how this book goes, so to speak.
Yeah, I literally could not tell you a single plot point from it. I don't remember anything from it. I'm basically I know I've read it before. All I can remember is that the cover of the library copy that I read when I was a teenager had a photo as the background of the cover design that I recognized as the roof of the Air Force Chapel at the Air Force Training Academy in Colorado, which is a weird pull, but yeah, I recognized it.
Huh.
I used to live in Colorado, and I had been there, so I was like, oh, I know what that is. That's completely irrelevant to the contents of the book. It just was interesting, I guess. I don't know. I don't remember any of the book at all. It'll be fun, I guess. Probably not. It might be fun. Who knows?
Yeah, it's like, okay, I remember it being bad, but I don't remember which way it's bad. I'm looking forward to seeing how this gets fucked up.
So looking at the cover was interesting times.
Mm-hmm. I had an interesting time looking at the cover, and remember the other interesting time when I went to a military church. So
yeah,
that's something.
I've been to the same military church, dear. You're not alone.
Hey! Anyways, we don't have any fan mail this week, so I will take this time to say that if you did agree or disagree with our ranking, or you want to talk about soul music or anything else about old Sir TP or the Discworld series, feel free to drop us a line at disc@hypnovire.us. That's DISC @hypnovir.us. We also have a Twitter at DiscPod on Twitter, and we also have a Mastodon account, discpod@queer.party. You can find us there. Feel free to comment or send a little note or something. It's always nice to hear from you folks. Always good to... This is where I would say, like, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if I gave a shit about that. I don't really give a shit about that. But it's nice to hear people say, good podcast.
Instead,
on the social media.
Casually recommend this podcast to your friend in conversation if they talk about enjoying podcasts about books or whatever. Be annoying about us in that way instead of giving us a review online.
Yeah, tell your fellow TikTok adults about it. I don't know.
Yeah, tell your fellow TikTok geriatrics about us. Everybody at the senior home making that content. Mm-hmm. There are many, many Terry Pratchett podcasts out there. You've decided to listen to this one. That
Good
means
taste.
you are exceptionally cool. You should find other people who are exceptionally cool and share it with them. Yeah, this has been Disc Covers, covering soul music.
Oh, before we go, I want to plug something. I don't know if everybody else wants to keep doing a bit where we plug something else, but I like doing that bit, and I'm going to plug something.
Me too. I was going to say, we're getting to our personal pluggables, so if you want to go first, feel free.
No, y'all can go first.
Okay. Well, I'm Iris J. You can find me at Iris J Comics on Twitter, on Mastodon. I'm on co-host now, if you do the co-host thing. Haven't had much to post on there since a lot of my work is NDA right now, but, I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I've got another podcast that's going to be coming out probably around the same time as this episode called Sand Job, where me, my partner Nero, and our friend Jesse get together to read through the entire series of Sandman comic books by Mr. Neil Epic Divorce Man Gaiman. It's going to be interesting. We're actually recording the episode for that tomorrow, so this is going to be a whole podcasty fucking weekend for me, which is very exciting.
Welcome to the party.
So, I'll be posting a link to that on our DiscPod Twitter later. It's I don't really have like I'm not going to say it's part of the same podcast family, but it's it's I'm reading shit and we're talking about it, so that's something.
It's part of the podycule.
Yeah, the potty. That's a great term for it. The podycule. And as for the unrelated thing that I was going to recommend, I'd like to recommend Jordan Peele's new film, Nope. I saw it in theaters recently. That movie is fucking awesome. Probably my movie of the year. Gonna call it right here. I'm not gonna say literally anything else about what happens in it or what it's about. It's good, though. If you like spooky shit, check it out.
I'm Juniper. I'm not doing anything right now that I can think of, although maybe I will eventually. I might start another podcast about Netrunner, if anyone cares about Netrunner. And you should care about Netrunner, because it's really, really good.
I enjoy watching you be gay about Netrunner.
It is the best. Very fun. This is not my recommendation, because I have something else I want to recommend, but Netrunner is the best card game ever made, and it's being run by a fan collective that's doing it better. For more information, stay tuned to next episode or a couple episodes from now when I'll have a podcast to plug, hopefully.
God, I look forward to that.
But for now, I'm Juniper, and my thing that I'm going to plug, in keeping with the jokes I've made today, last year you should listen to the album that came out last year, Ska Dream, which is a fucking amazing album where Jeff Rosenstock, who's an old ska punk guy, took a punkish folk punk album that he made the year before and was just like, for April Fool's Day this year, I'm going to rewrite the entire album as if it was ska. Just every single song becomes a ska song. And it's absolutely amazing because he put all the possible time into it and actually made a really fantastic album that's just a great ska album. It's great.
I was going to say Ska Dream legitimately kicks ass.
It's just a great album.
It rules. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I am still Belina. I am still probably easier found in the show notes than anywhere else. I don't know if I count this as a plug, but I think like 80 hours the last 2 weeks have gone into me just playing Deep Rock Galactic, but also I was fighting through a depressive spiral, so like take that as a grain of salt. It's a good way to lose a lot of time when you're feeling bad about yourself.
I have heard Deep Rock Galactic is a very fun game. I have to give it a try sometime.
It's good. Yeah, it got rocks, it got stone. What more do you need?
I've heard
It got dwarves.
Yeah, space dwarves.
If you like dwarves, and chances are you do because you're listening to this show, check it out.
This reminds me of one of my favorite jokes that I never actually got to mention, which is I found the joke in the book about I found the joke in the book where they're coming up with names for the band, and Glad is like, let's name it Gold. He's like, no, that's not a good name. Well, how about Silver? No, let's not go with any heavy metal names. That killed me. Absolutely hilarious.
Fuck, that one got right past me until right now.
It's very good.
I have been the internet's beloved Princess Grace. You can find my writing programs, podcast posts, and everything else is fit to plug at princess.software. We've talked about the Blues Brothers enough, so I'm not going to recommend that, but I have been laid up for the past week or so with wrist injuries, and the entire time I've done nothing but watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which I can hardly recommend.
Fuck yeah, JoJo's rules. Also, I thought for a second you were going to recommend Blues Brothers 2000, the sequel.
I would never.
No.
I have met Blues Brothers 2000 apologists who say it's doing its best. I've never seen it. I have been warned away from it.
I don't know about that. We should watch it sometime. It's a movie that was really made, and when you see it, you'll be like, I don't think that movie is real, but it certainly is.
I'm looking
We
forward
all have to
it.
contend with the fact that Blues Brothers 2000 exists in this universe.
Watch the first Blues Brothers movie, though. It's really good.
First one's classic. Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially if you read this book and you thought and you didn't understand all the jokes about, we're on a mission from Glad, and then the whole back and forth about, I don't see why getting a mission from some dwarf is so special.
But yeah, thanks for joining us. Join us next time when we do Interesting Times. Until then, Discettes and discinos, please keep on disking. Truly it was a soul music.
I believe there was more than one music in it, but
There was at least several musics.
Well,
Future Iris, put the closing music in here. It should be, coming up.
Follow your dreams, folks.